Hi, I'm Rob Cosman. Welcome to my shop. For the last week, we've been here with Super Dave building wood hinge boxes. A little Christmas present for Dave. Bring him up here and make some boxes for his wife to keep him out of trouble. Since his chicken coop didn't protect the chickens, that's a different story. Anyway, Dave, show him your boxes. These are the first two of the first three that he made, which actually turned out extremely well. What's it made out of?
Aspen and walnut.
And it still has to have another coat of finish put on it. And this one is
Maple.
figured maple and
East Indian rosewood.
East Indian rosewood. Turned out really nice. So we got into the topic of, okay, making the hinge. So we thought, well, let's show them how we make hinge. Now, what was interesting is I usually make just short ones, but they actually, while I was gone, made some really long ones. So let me show you how we do it. Several pieces of machinery, but you can use whatever you have. We're going to make this one out of a piece of Chuck-to-Coke. And Chuck-to-Coke is red, almost hunter's orange. So I'm ripping a strip. Jake, what's the thickness on this? We're wanting to make 1/4-inch dowel. So we are starting with a piece that will be how wide?
9/30 seconds.
9/30 seconds. 9/30 seconds? Yeah? That's how red it is. You see where it looks like when it oxidizes? And you cut into it. So now we're going to rip this. And you'll see why we're not using the table saw. We've got that set up for a separate operation. Now, I got the table saw set, the blades at 45. And what we're going to do before we run this through our dowel maker is we need to turn that into an octagon. That reduces the amount of work that has to be done with the dowel jig. Keep that pressed down in to the fence and into the corner and into the table. Now I've got jigs to make 1/4-inch, 3/8, half, 3/4. But the majority of boxes we make tend to be small, so we use a 1/4-inch dowel for that. Now I'm going to chuck this up, cordless drill. Really important that you point your dowel before you start, and the length of this thing. I'm using my disc sander, and you want that point on center, so that when it goes through the hole, and there's the jig. I made it 30 years ago. You get it set right, and it takes so much friggin' to get it just perfect. I never touch it after that. I've got two other ones on here. But this one, we got this one set so the dowel's coming out right on 0.25. So Dave, what I need you to do is just support it on that end so it doesn't whip too much. You want, the faster it spins, the better, but you want to adjust your feed rate so that you get a nice smooth surface. On some wood, you got to go slower than others. And I've got Dave blowing compressed air on there so that the shavings don't drop down in the jig. Now it's going to start to whip out that other end, so you're going to have to, oh, okay, I got this side, you take that side. Like I said, we normally do much smaller dowels. Feel smooth?
Yep.
So if it was starting to feel rough, I would just slow my feed rate. Keep the speed up, but slow the feed rate. And if you look closely, I've got several shims underneath that blade, and it just takes a lot of playing around to get that blade so it's cutting on the top of the circle, and the dowel, or the hole drilled through that piece of lignin is 1/4 inch. And when I get to the end, I'll stop, go to the opposite end, the round end, chuck it up, and then put it in reverse and pull it through. There, now we'll be able to make about 400 small boxes. But that actually came out really smooth. That feels fantastic. And that's a combination of a good sharp blade. And if you're not familiar with how to sharpen a blade, then go check out some of my videos on doing that. And the feed rate just right, and I keep the RPM up. But we were able to do over there. I didn't think we'd be able to do it without, I thought the torque would break it, but it didn't. So there's some out of pine. There's another one out of Chuck to Coke. We got some here. This is to match up the dowel. To match up the dowel on that box that Dave did out of figured maple. There's one out of that same figured maple.
Lots of those.
I've got this one's out of piece of bird's eye. You just want to be able to match the wood. Match the dowel to the wood in the box, and then your hinge can be completely hidden. Anyway, I've got videos, YouTube's on making the actual boxes, but that's how you make the dowel, and people have asked about it several times. Let me just give you a quick overview on that. So this is the ones I prefer. I can't even tell you how I did it. It's been so long ago, but you can kind of figure that out. I drilled a 1/4 inch hole all the way through, and you want a really good drill bit. And then I used a what's it called? It's like it cuts a taper. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it. So you flare that hole in part way, and then you've got to come in with your table saw and you got to expose part of it, because you got to have the cutter right on the top, so you can see we've opened up the top of the circle. But I wanted to leave a part of this so that it's spinning, it's not jumping out of the hole. So it's captured almost, it's like it's more than 3/4 of the way around that circle. But what you have to do is you just have to play with this height, and you got to play with the positioning of exactly where that needs to be. And I wish I could tell you exactly where it is, but I can't. It's all been experimentation. And then, like I said, once I get it, I leave it there. Anyway, that may not have been much of a help, but I'm able to inspire you to go out and actually try it yourself. Here's another box that Dave's working on. This is a piece of Macassar ebony and that same fiddleback maple. So that's going to be a real pretty box. Hope you have fun. Merry Christmas. Say goodnight, Dave.
Night.